So let's talk about some key ways that you can build your audience, attract more people to your live Hangouts. So one of our favorite ways is to do what we call promotional partnerships. And we're going to talk about that in a little more detail in the next slide, but it's basically bringing on guest experts in your niche who have expertise, have a following in the same market that you're looking to attract followers in. You can also send out email campaigns. If you do have an email list, it's a great way to send out your message that you're having a show. If you don't have an email list, you need to get started building one. We can show you some really neat ways to do that here at the Hangouts That Convert Success System, as doing live events with a third-party application is one of the greatest ways to build that. Social media, of course, and blogging. We'll touch on these in a little bit of depth tonight. We're not going a huge deep dive here in this video, but we're going to definitely paint the picture for you. So what is a promotional partnership? As I said, it's bringing on a guest expert in your niche to share in the discussion. Now, this has been a home run for myself and my partner this last year. That's been our primary format, is to bring on guests who are experts in the niche that we're looking to build in. And what happens with that is they actually bring their credibility to your show. You obviously get to add them to your network of friends. And they also oftentimes bring their audience with them to the discussion to view it. So sometimes they'll share on social media. Sometimes they'll even share with their email following, although it's most common for them to share via social media and things like that. But it's a great way to gather up some of their followers, add them to your list, add them to your following. It's really, I believe, the best way to go. So highly consider having guest experts on your show. Don't be afraid to reach out to some big names in your industry. I'm telling you, you'd be surprised how many people will say yes to come on and promote themselves to your audience, even if you feel like they're a few pegs, so to speak, above you. Don't be afraid. Make a list of your favorite people you'd love to have on your Hangouts and then ask them. I would say most of them are going to say yes. You can also promote a product or free offer with them. So one of the things that we do is we'll offer to have our guests provide a free giveaway or a low ticket item or something that they can offer, and we can actually plug in, because you remember Hangouts allows you to plug in an offer to the audience live there right on the Hangout. So we'll often ask for an affiliate link or something like that for a low ticket item or a free offer, and that the presenter can share for free or for a low cost with the audience. It works great. People usually take advantage of that. It helps you. It helps your guest rather add a few people to their email list. It also helps you possibly earn an affiliate commission as well. So again, it's not necessary. Not all of our guests or our shows have anything to share at all, like a free giveaway or anything, but it is an option you can do. Email campaigns. Email is obviously the path to gold. If you're not building an email list, you need to be doing that right now. It's the most powerful way to make sales online and to connect with and engage a warm audience. So we recommend Aweber. It's a good old steady tool. It's only about $19 a month to start out with. A great tool. It's an old reliable tool that isn't overly complicated. There's a little bit of a learning curve there, but it's much less so than other platforms. So as far as an email timeline, this is kind of a general timeline. We generally try to announce our upcoming Hangouts maybe 5 to 7 days prior. Probably 7 days is good to start promoting. And usually we'll do around 5 emails. The second email, usually maybe 3 days before. The third, maybe 24 hours before. The fourth email is a reminder, maybe 15 to 30 minutes before. Probably closer to 15 is good. And then the fifth email right after the Hangout. So a few hours after the Hangout, we'll actually send out a replay of the content. So this looks like much. You can actually automate this if you're using a third-party software, which is another great reason to do so. Like Webinar Jam, for example, you can actually automate this stuff and have this sent automatically each time that you host an event. So it's really powerful to have that third party. Regular Hangouts do not have these built-in email templates or these email funnels around the live event. So I highly recommend not only using Hangouts, but using a third-party application like Webinar Jam or some of these others that are coming out that we'll talk about in a future video, to maximize the marketing power of the Hangouts, because Hangouts themselves are just not set up for marketing power. Social media strategies. Obviously, after your live Hangout, you're going to get a YouTube video in your YouTube channel. Now, YouTube is a huge source of traffic. It's the second largest search engine in the world next to Google, and Google owns YouTube, and Google loves YouTube. So often videos will rank well on Google and in YouTube, of course, certainly. So you can actually, get your recorded video. Once you have that video, this is another way to repurpose things, is to do some light search engine optimization to that video. Now, we're not going to go into that today. We definitely go into that in depth in the Hangouts that Convert Success System. But that's another great way to get your content out there. Facebook is huge. It's crushing it right now as far as engagement. It's the hottest thing there is right now. As far as social media sharing and connection and stuff like that. There's, of course, paid options like Facebook ads, which we do, and we talk about in our success system. And there's also just organic reach, although that's been getting a much, much less reach recently, as Facebook has, especially when it comes to pages. You'll actually get more reach through your personal profile than your page these days. But those are great options to share. Facebook's great. You can create Facebook or Google Plus events for your Hangouts. So you can actually embed your registration link, if you have one from like Webinar Jam, into a Facebook event or a Google Plus event and tell people to sign up for it. You can send people notifications. If you have a Facebook group, you can host an event within that group or even on your personal profile. I would caution you with the events not to overdo them, or they tend to get annoying. If you're doing a weekly Hangout and you're doing an event every week and inviting people every week to it, that can be a little bit tedious. But for select events, webinars, sales webinars, things where you're really looking to get that extra juice, events are a good way to drive traffic to your webinar registration pages and Hangout registration pages, or event pages if you're doing it via a Google Plus Hangout event. Facebook group. I love Facebook groups. They're a great way to stay in touch with people and to promote what you're doing, and also share what you're doing as far as when you're hosting Hangouts, etc. They're probably one of the most powerful ways to engage with a following. It's basically another form of a list, just like your email list, but on Facebook. I'd highly recommend that you start a group for your cause, your company, your niche right away. Of course, Twitter, LinkedIn are a couple of platforms that people are using to share stuff. We generally will use what's called Buffer app, which is a third-party scheduling software that allows you to schedule posts for Twitter and LinkedIn. Twitter is obviously super fast and very, very, in my opinion, and I'm not the master of Twitter by any means, hard to engage with people, but it is a good way to get content out. I know the Twitter masters would be slamming me for that. I'm sure there's a lot of ways to engage on Twitter. I just don't do it. I'm more of a Facebook guy and a YouTube guy for engagement. LinkedIn is another great source for professional people. So if you're in that niche, you definitely want to be posting on LinkedIn. And you can use Buffer for scheduling those posts, or other things like Hootsuite and other things to schedule, promotional content and things like that. One caution: I would not use third-party software like Buffer or Hootsuite with Facebook posts, as Facebook, to my understanding, has limited the reach from those kind of applications, just so people aren't scheduling mass posts on Facebook to crowd their newsfeed stuff. So Facebook doesn't work as well on things like Buffer app, but Twitter and LinkedIn, according to my knowledge, still do. And finally, blogging. It's not something that I do a lot of. I tend to like to put out video content, but it is a great way to boost SEO for your website and utilize promotional partners. You can take your videos and create a blog post from them, or transcribe your videos like we talked about in the first video to create blog posts. I don't do a lot of writing unless I'm in the mood, but it is a good way to get SEO and traffic to your site. You can post things in advance to build buzz, and you can obviously post a replay page with resources to your content. So those are a few great strategies to do that. On this next webinar, we're going to be talking, not this next webinar, on this next All right. I hope you enjoyed that discussion. On our next video, we're going to be talking about some of the top 5 platforms that you can host your Hangouts on. What kind of third-party applications that are out there as options for you to build your business.